Hello and welcome to Raise Your Vibes TV. I'm your host, Athena Barry, wellness leader, Reiki master, author of award-winning book, Raise Your Vibes, and creator of Crystal Reiki Healer, bringing you spiritual education, meditations, the gift of Reiki, and inspirational guests from around the world to help guide you on your journey to live happier and healthier. Thank you for tuning in to Raise Your Vibes. It is such a gift to be sharing energy with you today. Today's show is sponsored by Westwood Clinic of West Los Angeles, California, where wellness is found with compassion, chiropractic care, and healing tools of the highest technology for your physical pain relief and healing. They are a certified MLS laser therapy facility helping thousands of patients reclaim their health and overcome the limitations of living with pain. Find out more about this amazing healing space at westwoodclinic.com. And now we have a very special guest joining us today from the UK. Please welcome Jerry Sargent, founder of Star Magic Healing. He is a powerful motivational speaker and healer, international best-selling author, and renowned for transforming thousands of people's mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual lives. Author of Healing with Light Frequencies and his forthcoming book, Activate Your Superhuman Potential. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us here on Raise Your Vibes. I'm so grateful to have you on the show today.
Hey, Athena, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it is such a gift to have you here and share your magic with our world and how you heal people. So in your book that I've had the pleasure to read, Healing with Light Frequencies, you share your gift of healing with light as a source of information, as you call it. So how does one tap into this? What's this all about?
Well, we as humans, or souls living in these bodies, we're having this kind of present day life experience right now. Your soul is in this body called Athena, my soul is in this body called Jerry. But we're also having other experiences too, out there in the quantum field, past lives, future lives, which are really just present when you come into the quantum space. There's no time, distance, and measurement, everything's now. And the way that we work is we kind of tap through this kind of physical avatar, which is like a biological computer, the data that is held in the back end of the computer in the quantum field. So if someone comes to us and they say, well, I've got diverticulitis or trigeminal neuralgia, I've got some kind of tumor, or even just a bad shoulder or bad elbow, then what we will do is go in through the front end, their biological computer, and find the kind of source code in the back end, which is like the reality field, the past or future life, or maybe a present day life experience from this reality, and then we'll change it. So there's some kind of trauma that's happened on a deeper level. And it's like, imagine you got a website, right? And the website's pink and you want to change it to blue. You get a computer engineer, a tech guy, they go into the back end of the computer, they play with the code, and then the color changes on the front end. So that's all we're doing, going into the back end of someone's biological computer, playing around with the code, and that is bringing the soul into healing or changing a timeline or however we go about it. And then it manifests physically, either immediately or within days or maybe a couple of weeks on the front end. Sometimes one healing is enough. Sometimes you might need 2 or 3. But yeah, we go in and that's how we work. That's a kind of a good analogy, like, resembling it to a computer system. We are like computers, so.
Right. Yes. We're like these incredible, intricate beings, like the whole universe in a skin suit, right? And all of our, on a cellular level, even the little tiny cells have so much activity going on. So it's amazing to be able to tap into this. And you do this with light, right? This is kind of the premise of your healing modality. So channeling light is this universe, is this the stars? How do you wrap that around our human mind so that our spiritual body can accept this?
Well, we don't really call star magic like a modality. I think a modality is very rigid and structured, and within a modality there are certain parameters. So you might have to put your hands here or bring in these symbols or use this in a very specific way. And a lot of people treat, different clients the same because they're fixed into a modality. but we prefer to play a game. So if I'm going to go into work on you or anyone else, the first thing I'm going to do is ask, please show me something I don't know to help me facilitate the healing of this incredible human being. And by asking the question, please show me something I don't know, I open myself up to this field of infinite potential, because I'm not interested in what happened to Roger or Susan or whatever who had the disease the week before, even if someone comes the following week with the same disease. I'm not interested. I want to find out what is different within their kind of psychology, soul experience. Every human's different, and every soul has had multiple different experiences on this planet and others. So I feel taking this approach it makes it fun and it makes it different every single time. So the universe will throw something up and you might see a shape, you might see a symbol, you might see some information, and then we start to play with that. For example, a lady, we were in India a few years ago, and a lady had been punched in the face like 20 years before by her ex-husband, and she'd had a big like crack and dent in her face, and she'd had like facial reconstruction surgery and all this sort of stuff. So I asked if anyone in the audience had any like bone issues, and she put her hand up and she came up to the front, and I said, please show me something I don't know. Some information started to appear, and we've got this kind of like way that we hear where you put a hand over the back of someone's neck, which we call God's mouth, which is where it's like a portal, so you can run energy through it. I mean, priests wear big collars because they think demons are going to attack them through the neck, and it is true. However, we use it for good purposes. So you can place your hand over the back of the neck, draw in like frequencies, star codes, many different frequencies and codes, run it in through the back of the neck. It runs up through the pineal gland, out of the left palm, which you put on the front of the head, and the energy circulates. And what happens is the light frequencies that you bring in will go through the system, and the pineal glands, the master cell in the pineal gland, will download these frequencies to every cell in the human body. Then what happens, it basically wipes the biological computer clean of what you would call, let's say, a virus, which is the past life trauma. It brings it into healing, and then a new data stream comes in. So I did this to this lady. She fell down to the floor. I caught her. I ran a few more frequencies through. She got up. Yeah, it's handy that I caught her. I don't want to make any more damage.
Yeah, please don't drop anyone, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
She got up 5-10 minutes later, and her cheek completely normal again. I mean, it amazes me. How does this happen? How does someone's cheek? Surgeons do facial reconstruction surgery and can't do it, and you run some frequency through, and suddenly it just mends. I mean, it blows me away every single time. But it's just data. Light is
it's
information.
Amazing. I mean, the body is such an incredible healing tool itself, right? At least in, as you dive into spirituality and different ways of healing, I always liken it to, we're this self-healing vessel, really. And, when given the proper environment, our bodies are allowed to heal. So it's like when you have a scratch, for example, well, if you keep it clean, maybe keep it covered, add a little Neosporin or whatever your thing is, it will heal over, and then you'll have this, brand new, even stronger skin than you had before. Whereas, if you're putting a bunch of junk in there, it's going to get infected. You're going to have a bigger scar. You're going to have all these issues. So sounds to me, it's like the same thing, creating this environment for the body so that we can heal. And you talk about the pineal gland or pineal gland, depending where you're from and how you say this. And you talk about this, you have like a whole chapter on this, right? In your book, Healing with Light Frequencies, and I love that you mentioned this, because I feel like there isn't enough information about this. We don't hear about it enough, how it becomes calcified. And the idea of our media, dumbing us down and keeping us, really under their control. So I love that you address this in the book. How would you suggest to people to start decalcifying and opening this? And then what's the benefit for that?
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing question, but what will lead into this answer perfectly is what you just touched upon before. And you were talking about the body kind of, just creating that environment. And I think this has to be stressed to every human being, that really and truthfully, they don't really need me. They don't need you. They don't need a healer. Yeah. And I don't really like to even call myself a healer, because I never really heal anybody. I just, like you say, set up an environment so the human body can do what it does best. And that is self-heal. Like we were designed to self-heal. We're not supposed to be ill. But there are many things that are put into this crazy world that we live in that you know, keep us thinking, keep us locked into the external reality. There are chemtrails, all sorts of different things. But when we activate our pineal gland, when we really turbocharge these calcite crystals in that little pine cone in the center of the brain and back slightly, magic happens. You know, I mean, fluoride in our toothpaste, you know, chemicals in our soap, chemtrails in the air, certain rubbishy stuff in our foods. I mean, all of this stuff blocks and calcifies the pineal gland. And if we can do things like, you know, just, I mean, first of all, have a really clean, healthy, nutritional way of eating.
Which of course is beneficial anyway, right? Let alone what it's doing for our minds, right?
Absolutely. I feel everyone should really listen to their body on that. I mean, I went vegan for 6 years. It was great for 2 years, and then it didn't really work for me. I train a lot in the gym, and you know, my body started to deteriorate. And I think everyone should listen to their body. Some people might be great going vegan. Some people might be great vegetarian. Some people need a bit of meat, eggs, whatever it is. So listen to your body. But within that kind of like way of eating, I think it's predominantly, you know, making sure you're getting a lot of light drenched foods, a lot of green stuff, you know, so put all of that goodness, Mother Nature in, get out and sun gaze, breath work, cold showers in the morning, get your feet on the earth, exercise. You know, there's many different meditations and breath work exercises which will really send frequency up through your body and turbocharge your pineal glands. You know, like the pineal gland itself, I mean, there's been a war on the pineal gland for many years. I mean, if you look at children now, like, you know, children are coming on well, girls say their periods, some of them at 6, 7, 8 years old. You know, boys are hitting puberty a lot earlier. And as soon as you hit puberty, the pineal gland stops developing. So if you do that to one, stream of children coming through, then the next one are going to give birth to a more subservient stream of children, and so on and so on. And over, say, 5, 6, 7 generations, we become a much more docile species. And that's what's happened. And, you know, like, men have lost their fight, you know, and it's, you know, the masculine has been stripped from the feminine, the feminine's been stripped from the masculine. Yes. Or balance.
Somehow they're considered separate now, when we all have that divine feminine and masculine within us, and it's like repressing one part of ourselves. How can you be whole, right? We have to acknowledge and honor both of these, you know, parts of ourselves. And for children, I love that you bring this up, because children are like such a gift to our world. They come in so open and so ready to learn so much, and they, you know, they're closer connected to whatever you believe happened before this life. I mean, I personally believe in past lives, and we come back and we continue learning in this journey until we've, you know, reached everything we've needed to learn and move on. But children are closest to this because they're such fresh life, and we don't listen to them. Like, as a whole, it's like, oh, these are just, you know, we forget these are little people, but they're still people, they're still individual. And, you know, if anything, they have a broader, more open mind to, you know, everything life has to offer than we do. They're not jaded yet, you know, they haven't been told, no, you can't do this. So how would you tell parents to, you know, support their own little earth angels, as I call them, so they can, you know, stop this process of, you know, dumbing down our societies?
I mean, this is a massive question, you know, like, I mean, I've got 2 children. I mean, my daughter's almost 20, my son's 17, and I homeschooled them, you know, from the ages of like sort of 9 and 11. They went to school in New Zealand for 4 or 5 years before that, and then in the UK before that. And, you know, going to the New Zealand schools, it was so free and open. Then coming back to England, I mean, my children at 9 and 11 were so kind of adamant in the way that they were in the world that they just wouldn't listen to the teachers, and they would turn around and say to the teachers, you know, I'm not going to listen to this stuff. You're brainwashing me. And they'd say, right, you're in detention. And my son would say, I'm not going into detention. You can't make me. So they were at loggerheads all day. I thought, this is just really not productive. So I pulled them out of school and homeschooled them. And, you know, I committed to this process, okay, when I pulled them out of school. And it was the most challenging thing that I ever did. But in the end, it was the most rewarding. And I decided that I was going to let them do whatever they wanted to do. And this was tough. I truly feel like children are like flowers. you love them, you water them, and then you let them kind of work it out. And I did that. And honestly, for a couple of years, pulling my hair out because, they were traveling with me. And, when they got to sort of 13, 14, they're on phones and they're playing games, and they're warped into this world of gaming. It was driving me nuts. And I kept like saying, come on, guys, and they'd be like, Dad, you told us we could do what we wanted to do. And so anyway, I went through this kind of battle, and I'm in, I kept kind of getting drawn back into it, but kept pulling back, and I stuck to my guns. In the end, the universe forced them to see where they were going right and where they were going wrong. I didn't have to do anything, but it took massive amounts of trust, because they went into so many kind of rabbit holes and places where I was like, oh no, this is so not good. But I just kind of had to pull back and just let it happen. And in the end, they really, like one day, my son's phone broke. And he said, Dad, get us another phone. I said, I'm not getting you another phone. I said, all you do is play games on it. So anyway, 2 or 3, 4 weeks went past, and I said to him, you know what I'm going to do? I'll get you another phone, but you can only go on it for a couple of hours a day. And if you're happy with that, I'll get it. And if you're not, then I won't. And he said, okay, I'll have it for 2 hours a day. Anyway, after 3 or 4 weeks, when he went back onto the game, he played it and he felt so low. He could feel his own vibration dip. And he said, Dad, I completely see what you mean now about the games. I feel terrible. And then he didn't want to play it again. So like the universe kind of took him into that position and that process where he could make his own mind up. So if you just trust the process, it will work out, but it's really tough,
It's really hard to trust, right? I feel like we kind of, we grow up being dependent on others for our wellness, for our health, for our education, really every facet of our lives. We're dependent on, whatever system is in place to take care of us. And so I so agree. It's hard to really trust ourselves again. And when I wrote Raise Your Vibes, that was a whole part of it, was helping people to, take your power back. You're an incredible being. You're capable of so much. Just trust yourself, listen to yourself. And I love in your book, you talk about imagination as not being something that's, a fool's paradise type of thing, but something that's actually so important. And we've kind of, stepped away from. Now in your own personal life, you've had from what I've read, you've had some pretty incredible life experiences. What would you say was maybe the catalyst that helped start you on your own journey in healing and taking your power back?
Yeah, I think I've had like about 10 million catalysts. I keep thinking wow, this has changed me so much, and then something else happens, and it's been like a consecutive chain of like synchronicities, one after the other. But if I kind of go back to like 2005, 2006, one of the main things was a car crash, and it was massive in my life because I was with my ex-wife and children, and we were traveling from a place called Piatra Neamț to Bucharest in Romania, back to the airport early one morning. I was asleep in the taxi, missus and kids in the back, and I woke up to a loud crash. The taxi's like this, there's wind and there's glass, and I think to myself, we're in a bad accident. We're either going to hit the oncoming traffic or the car's going to flip. And then suddenly we came to a stop, and there was no other cars on the road. It was just getting daylight. I thought, this is so weird. I looked at the taxi driver, he looked petrified. Alea, our daughter, was climbing out from underneath the driver's seat. Laura had Josh in her arms, and both their mouths were full of glass. There was a hole in the windscreen and blood was dripping down my face, but I wasn't cut. And I was like, what has happened? So I got out of the car. I looked about 30 meters up the road, and there was 2 ladies lying on the side of the road. And about another 100 meters or so up the road, there was what looked like a dead body. And what happened is 3 ladies were crossing the road early in the morning. The first one got hit clean on with a taxi. She came through the windscreen and hit me in the face when I was asleep, got flipped over the car and died. The second one had her ankles cut clean off, and the third one was physically okay. So I've walked past the 2 ladies that were there. A man had come out from a nearby factory. He was on the phone, but there's nothing I can do. So I carried on walking, and I was fixated on what looked like a dead body. And I got closer and closer, got within about 10 meters, and I saw this lady's soul, this energy hovering above her body. And I'm shaking my head like, come on, get out of my head. Like part of me didn't want to see it. Part of me was wondering whether it was really there. And it just kind of stayed there. And I walked, and it slowly fizzled into the ether. And by that time, I'm looking right down over the lady's body, and her legs are wrapped up over her head. And it was like someone had taken an old car to the scrap heap. Like whatever was inside the body, it had no use for this vehicle anymore, and it had just gone. And I kind of saw what happened between life and death in this kind of experience.
This transition, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It was like the universe smacking me around the face and saying, Jerry, wake up. You know, we're so much more than these physical bodies. You know, we're atoms and molecules in continuous movement. We're energy. This is what started me kind of like seeking and searching. Yeah, I'm like a dog with a bone. When I find something, you know, when I see something and it's like, you know, it's like, prove to me this, like, it's real and it's beyond this physical. I'm like, I need to find out more. So yeah, that was a really...
Yes, it really sparks this, you know, that it's like a childlike curiosity. Like, I need more, I want to know more and discover more. And it's so interesting. I had and we have a lot of synchronicities here. I also had a very traumatic car accident when I was 19, and this is back in, you know, late 90s, we'll say. And I rolled over in a convertible 4 times. And on the freeway, it was a hit and run accident. Never found out, you know, who it was or what happened. And for years, I, you know, really held so much anger and animosity towards this person that had hit me and then just left. And really later, it was like I came to say thank you, because the experience really changed the course of my life and has brought me to, you know, where I am today. And when you speak of that, you know, that essence kind of flying, you know, floating up above, it was really interesting, because during the accident, and I had the initial first, like, oh my God, I'm going to be in a bad accident. Like, this was the first, like, oh my gosh, here we go. And I remember tucking, you know, grabbing the steering wheel and tucking my head down as tight into the car as I could get. And I felt this first impact and no idea what happened. I ended up upside down. It was these 4 women who later told me that I had rolled 4 times on this. But it was like I was up outside, you know, outside of myself, outside of this, seeing these headlights. And I remember just seeing so much light. You know, it was like, and I, of course, even before today, I always assumed those were, you know, the headlights of oncoming traffic. But now I'm kind of starting to question, like, because I was up above myself, outside myself, and saw lots of light. So it's interesting how our soul or our spirit and our body can actually separate and still come back together sometimes. And some of us do this through astral projection. Some of us do this through, you know, a terrible car accident or life-altering event. But I love that you had an experience and recognized it for, you know, for the healing journey, that the beginning of that healing journey for yourself. I mean, I can't even imagine what it's like to walk around and feeling like that, except for my own experience, where I had these angels stop and literally lift me out of this completely, and talk about car wreckage. This was, you know, it looked like it had been one of those car smashers, you know, you see in the dump. And they managed to get the door open. And it was the first time I've ever felt superhuman strength. I mean, it was like an angel came and just lifted me out of this car. It was just incredible. And it was through a space of like no more than maybe 6-7 inches. It was tiny. Maybe that's about 8. So I love that you've also had this, you know, this similar, you know, start and you know, shift into a whole new consciousness. I mean, it's really incredible. And then how long after this did you start your star magic? Because in your book, you say your goal is to heal 1 billion people, right? Is that the goal? Is that still right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. So how did this then change and shift into, you know, creating these healing centers around our world?
I mean, it's a long story. I'll give you like the machine gun version. I mean, this happened, and about a few months later, again, my ex-wife, she played a big role in my journey, really. she had a headache and bad migraine. And I thought to myself, I could take it out of her head. And I don't know why I thought that, but I did. So I've gone over, she's lying on the bed and I saw it was green inside of her head. So I kind of grabbed it and pulled it out and thought, that's a bit weird, but I kind of just carried on what I was doing. A few months later or so, we moved to New Zealand, and a friend of mine has a car accident. Her partner phones up and asks if I could help. And I was like, how am I going to help? I'm in New Zealand. But my intuition is like, go and get some crystals and lie on the bed. So I put them on my body, and then all of a sudden I'm in a hospital room and all this light starts pouring out of my hand. And the doctors had said, you might not ever walk again. You've been in hospital for at least a year. Like, she was probably smashed up. And I just started putting her body back together in my mind, playing around and just doing what felt right. And I did this every day for a couple of weeks, and she walked out of hospital in 12 weeks. And then she phoned me up because I was thinking to myself, did I do something? It's just my crazy imagination. And this is what really made me realize what imagination is, because when she came out of hospital, she phoned up and said, Jerry, I woke up one night and looked at the side of my bed and said, what are you doing here? And I was like, what, you saw me? And she said, yeah. And I was like, wow. So what I'd imagined in my head was actually real in the field. So I was actually in there doing that stuff, and it had some kind of effect on her. Then I met a guy who taught me how to meditate. He had a pyramid in his garden. I had some amazing experiences. Met Jesus one day, went into the Last Supper. I had a spaceship come and pick me up and take me to Alpha Centauri, where I downloaded loads of codes. We moved back to England.
And you have a lot of these stories, right, in your book. Seeing yourself as Michael, meeting Jesus, meeting the Archangel Gabriel, right? You have a lot of these stories. I mean, there's so much information in this book. It was like, it's such a page turner, because I'm reading it and, I read a lot of spiritual books, obviously. I read a lot of ancient books. I love to read. It's kind of my thing. I guess that's what started me on my journey in writing as well. But it was incredible reading this, where it's like, and what's the next one? And what's the next story? And it's so great how you break it down in this book. It's so easy to digest. It's like, it's a page turner, but you're really absorbing this information at the same time. And you have a lot of diagrams in there, right? That help, is this the idea to help kind of give people an idea of visualizing the healing process so they can do this themselves? Is that
a lot of people, this whole spiritual field, this the quantum field, like you say to people, quantum physics and all this, and like it's like nails on a blackboard. I mean, it used to be for me anyway. But if you can try and make it easy for people to kind of understand it, digest it, and make it accessible for everybody, I think that's what's really important. Instead of it being like, out there and airy fairy and woo-woo and all this kind of like, it's for people that wear, white robes and meditate under a tree and have been sitting in an ashram for 30 years. And if you're not like that, it's no good, you're no good for it. It's not, it's for everybody. And we've trained thousands of people. Yeah, thousands, and everyone can do it. So we've broken it down and created this way to share it with people. Everyone can do it.
I love that. So as you were writing this, what would you say was the most challenging chapter or section for you to write? Like, and why was this, getting it all onto the page a challenge for you?
None of it was challenging, because it just happened. It just flowed. The book I wrote before that, Into the Light, it took me 4 weeks. This book probably took me, 8 or 9 weeks. It just came out. I got up every morning at 4 o'clock, writing for 2 or 3 hours like a crazy madman. Boom, shut the computer, wake up the next morning. It was just coming through. It was easy. Yeah, it wasn't hard at all.
I love that. And now you have another one coming out, right? You've written, this will be your third, is that right?
I think this would be like my 4th or 5th. There was So this one's called Activate Your Superhuman Potential, the Ultimate 5D Toolkit. And this book is kind of like, it's like a set of tools that anyone can plug into and literally amplify their life in a massive way and unlock their kind of superhuman abilities. It was like you were saying earlier, we're amazing creatures, we're amazing beings, and everyone has this potential to just be powerful, stand in their own essence, in their own, authentic nature. Everybody's got gifts and talents. And when you take that deep dive into the labyrinth of your heart, magic and miracles unfold. So this book is about helping people take that deep dive, and there's all these kind of ways to follow, techniques, whatever you want to call it, and they will just take people through this step-by-step process, and
I love that.
life will change, you know?
Yes, and of course, so this also has to do with star magic and the concept of channeling. Would you say channeling light or becoming the light? How would you?
I mean, we are light. We are
well,
light.
we are light.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's just that some of our data streams are not the best. I mean, the way I look at this world, right? Imagine you went to Amazon and you said to the guys, right, listen, I want to buy a mold, and this mold is called planet Earth. And even the galaxy that planet Earth resides in, it's like a great big mold. And you pour all of this energy into it. And then you take the mold off and you're left with this galaxy and this planet. It's running a certain geometrical, mathematical sequence and frequency. Yes. And this whole system that is being, that we're kind of running off has been corrupted for billions of years. And so this book is about helping human beings re-enter their inner geometry so that they can have an effect on the actual, cosmos at large, Mother Nature at large, because even Mother Nature is corrupted. We're running off a frequency stream that isn't connected to source. And what we need to do is shift that back to what is called the crystal mathematics, which is the original source code from billions and billions of years ago, when we first emanated out from those original primary light and sound fields from that womb of the universe, when it was just vibration and sound, and then we came into being. Like, we need to go back.
Love that. The womb of the universe. That is just such a beautiful way of looking at that, and how when we were born into what we are now. I love that. So Jerry, please tell us, and I always love to share with our audience, with each guest, if you have, or you could share, if you have a morning ritual, something that is your go-to every day that you can share with us, that someone else can easily do as well, to help us raise our vibes that first thing in the morning. Yeah,
you know what? Like, the best thing about this journey is all the things that you need to do to take yourself to the next level. They're all free. Like they're all free. It doesn't cost you any money. Like, cold showers, meditation, breath work, exercise. You don't need anything apart from yourself. I suppose, like, if I had to pick, let's say, 2 tools that I could do every morning, I would have a cold shower and do, some breath work. I would be doing some hard fire breathing, trauma breathing, 5-10 minutes in a cold shower for 5 minutes. The cold shower is going to spike your adrenaline levels. They're going to bring your cortisol levels back down afterwards. You're going to be present. It's great for your lymphatic system, your nervous system. It's great for your skin, hair, nails. It's freezing cold, so all you feel is the cold. So you're instantly locked into that present moment. The breath work, the breath work taps your DNA, your central nervous system. These 2 things together are dynamite. And if you just did cold showers and breath work every morning, it'd be amazing. And also at nighttime too, cold showers are proven to give you better sleep than a warm shower. And it seems a little bit daunting at first, going into a cold shower, but once you get used to it, you'll never go back. You'll never go back.
Once you get over that hurdle of being cold, right? Yes, yeah. Yes. No, it's a beautiful thing. And sometimes it's stepping out of that comfort zone and trying these new things to see what works for us, right? So I love that. Thank you for sharing. Jerry, you've already done so many amazing things. I really want everybody to read about it. We don't have time for today's show, but ancient mystery schools in Egypt, starting new centers all around the globe. What can we expect to see from you, or you're most excited about on your bucket list moving forward?
You know what, like, we're designing this healing center in Transylvania, Romania, all built out of sacred geometry. It's unreal. We've had all of the models, the 3D models, the videos done. We're just doing the internals at the inside at the moment. Hopefully in the next couple of months, we'll be sending it to the engineers. They're going to come back with all the cost models. And then it's just down to planning permission and a few things we got to get set up on the ground over there. And then we're going to ground. So, like, getting this thing up and running is right now is my kind of primary focus, because it's It's built on some really high energy grid points. There's portals on the land. The energy
Beautiful.
crazy powerful, and I just can't wait to bring people there, and just have amazing experiences, train people, have meditation groups, ayahuasca ceremonies, all of it. I'm just excited about it. I'm a little kid, like a little kid waiting for Christmas with this thing.
I
So, yeah.
love that. That's amazing. So tell us, if you can share with the audience, tell us how do people learn more about what you do, how they would find these centers, how they would experience your healing gifts, and of course, purchase your fantastic books.
Yeah, I go to starmagichealing.com. All of our social media is on there. There's free meditations to download. You can come and join Infinity free for 7 days, get access to all of our meditation, light language transmissions, cosmic yoga videos, nutrition, masterclasses. It's free for 7 days. There's many, many videos on the website showing all of our level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 trainings. There's global meditations that you can access for free. There's so much content, paid and free. So go to starmagichealing.com. If you've got any questions, just email in and one of the team will help you. And I look forward to seeing you at some point and get, sharing some kind of experience with you in whatever format that takes.
I love that. Absolutely. Well, I'm sure at some point in our journey, we might be separated by the globe right now, but I do certainly hope at some point our paths will cross in the physical plane, not so much just distance, although I do love distance and working with distance healing, but I'm sure we'll start manifesting that, where we can have a moment where we get to share energy together. It has been such a gift to share energy in this capacity with you, and thank you for being a part of Raise Your Vibes, for the life-changing work that you're doing, elevating the vibration of those near and far.
Thank you.
We are all connected, and when you vibe higher, everyone around you will too. Let's raise the vibes together. Jerry, thank you so much. To close, we are going to finish with a sacred Reiki Reiju blessing for your highest good. And I would love for you to join us if you have the moment. You can learn more about this, how this beautiful Japanese meditation art of Reiki healing can create positive changes for your life at crystalreikihealer.com. So please take a moment to settle into your sacred space, whether it's in the car, at home, sitting at your desk, or simply with your intention to receive this moment of positive healing vibration, relaxing your mind, body, and spirit. And we'll begin by just cleansing the aura, sweeping away any dissonant emotion, feeling, energy, and beginning at your crown, allowing that divine healing light and love through your crown chakra, yes, from the universe, pouring down into your being. And then to your ears, that everything you hear be from a place of love. To your mind, releasing any worries, fears, hardships, and allowing love to be the center of your focus. And shining that divine healing light through to your third eye, opening, expanding your consciousness, and filling your being with love. And then to your mouth, that everything you speak be from a place of love. And to your throat, that everything you communicate, you create, you listen, you hear will be from a place of love. And over your heart center, that this love radiates through you and out to those and everyone around you, pouring in that love to your heart center. And to your hands, allowing everything you touch and everything you receive during the day be through divine light and love. And then bringing that energy up through your root, up through your being, and showering love over your entire essence. Whenever you are ready, please bring your hands back together in prayer position, known as Gasao, for a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for the gift of Reiki energy, for allowing yourself this moment of peace. And when you're ready, have some cool water to assist grounding. I am your host, Crystal Reiki healer, Athena Barry, and I am so grateful to have shared energy together today with the wonderful support of our sponsor, Westwood Clinic. Living without pain is their gift to you. Join me here next week for another episode of Raise Your Vibes. Wishing you all so much love, healing, and many blessings. We would love to feature your brands and products on our show, Raise Your Vibes. Please contact info@raiseyourvibestv.com for sponsorship opportunities to raise awareness to your brand. Disclaimer: Reiki and other forms of energy healing shared on the show are meant to be supplementary healing practices. Always contact your medical licensed professional for questions or concerns regarding your physical, emotional, and mental health. Thank you.